The region of modern-day Afghanistan, owing its favorable location along the Silk Road, and also it served as a crossroad of the ancient world. Also, the presence of the resources and such as tin, copper, lapis lazuli, and other natural sources attracted traders and conquerors alike since the ancient time. Uh, Also, this region is located in the center of four ecological zones spread across the Central and South Asia, which also has revealed an extreme density of the archaeological sites, each with distinct culture and artistic characteristics that exhibits evidence of multi-genus interregional connections. So, archaeological research in the area of Afghanistan since 1950 in Chalcolithic Bronze Age research, uh, although limited, it was limited, but have successfully revealed the flourishing of the Bronze Age Chalcolithic settlements in the region. So these settlements have been characterized by Schaffer as belonging to the late prehistoric periods of Afghanistan. Also, studies have also indicates that during this time, uh, raw materials such as lapis lazuli, even as early as the 7th millennium BC, and tin were exported from Afghanistan to the area of other great civilizations in the ancient world, such as South Asia, Egypt, Mediterranean coast, Mesopotamia, and Greece. So archaeological evidences from Afghanistan reveals that the objects datable to this period shared motifs and other traits with the objects found in the neighboring regions such as the Indus Valley civilization, Eastern Iran, and also the Central Asia, and as well as deep inside the mainland India's Chalcolithic cultures beyond the boundaries of the Indus Valley civilization such as Ahar culture. So, in order to understand the later prehistoric periods of Afghanistan, it is essential to have a look at some general but very significant aspects of the prehistoric periods, as rightly pointed out by Schaffer in 1978, that human occupation of the modern area of Afghanistan has considerable antiquity. And these indigenous hunter and gatherers were constantly undergone socio-cultural change in response to their ecological contingencies. So these fundamental backgrounds of the human inhabitation and occupation in this region allow us to examine and explain the later prehistoric culture development as an indigenous process rather than to attribute them to the movement of people and trades from the areas in the west to Afghanistan. So coming into the geological research in the modern Afghanistan, so the artifactual assemblage, the study of the artifactual assemblage of the Indus Valley civilization and the Bronze Age cultures in Iran and also in Central Asia have highlighted certain similarities between them, also suggested interregional interaction between them. The region of modern-day Afghanistan, which lay along these lines of communications, may have served as a transit zones with the aforesaid focal points as early civilizations in this region. So these integral factors attracted archaeologists to explore the archaeological potential of the region during the later prehistoric periods. So archaeological investigation in late prehistoric periods of Afghanistan resulted in unveiling of multiple Bronze Age in southern Afghanistan and northern part of the country. So, although the results of the excavation has been published by the excavators in different languages, but a full review of the late prehistoric period of Afghanistan came in third chapter of this book in the first edition in 1978 by Schaffer, and it entitled The Late Prehistoric Periods in Afghanistan. So he gives a review of the evidence of the for the habitation and domesticated and early mobile pastoralist and sedentary societies in Afghanistan and the surrounding regions, which is followed by an overview overview of the development of stratified society within Afghanistan. Uh, so in the second edition of this book, which came in 2019, although a large number of the data remains the same, but the later prehistoric period of Afghanistan is divided into two separate chapters, northern and southern. So the first for the northern part of the Hindu Kush, they have suggested the Oxu civilization, and the chapter is entitled "The Development of the Oxu Civilization North of Hindu Kush," and also for southern. They term the development of Helmand civilization, such as the in the south of the Hindu Kush. So, from the southern part of the country, the knowledge about this period stems from the excavations at three sites, Mundigak, Demarasi Hundi, and Sait Kala in the Kandahar province of Afghanistan. These research, although it is limited, but the artifactual assemblage recovered from the excavation is sufficient to indicate that the southern Afghanistan is an important area for understanding understanding of the importance of the emergence of stratified societies or urban centers, and for comprehending the culture process which affected the neighboring areas. Also, these three sites provided information for understanding the culture process and linking the area of Baluchistan and the Indus Valley to former Soviet Central Asian and Eastern Iran. So here is some artifactual assemblage of the found from the site of Mundigak. Here is the aerial view and also the chronology. So as the focus is for the site of Shortughai, so I'm not going to discuss the artifactual and cultural assemblage of this site. Coming to the north part of Afghanistan, so our information about this period from the northern Afghanistan comes from a series of sites such as the Chalcolithic Bronze Age level at Gharimar, Tapefulul, Dashliwasit, and Farrukhabad, also as well as Shortughai. I'm not going to discuss each site in detail, but it is worthy to mention a brief description of the Gharimar or a snake cave, or which was termed as the Akhabrak 1 by the excavator. It is located in the Balkh province, where a series of rock shelters were identified, and excavation here was conducted in four localities. The site was excavated by Dobre and his team between 1962 to 65 as a part of his Paleolithic research. During the course of the excavation, besides the other occupational phases, namely Paleolithic and Neolithic, the excavator identified the Chalcolithic bronze level with the presence of copper, but not bronze. However, the chemical analysis of these artifacts and scientific analysis later on by Kelly in 1972 indicates that its composition was a Lawton, and also the 214C dates obtained from this label gives us a date of 5400 and 5300 BC. This appears to be the earliest date for the use of metal artifacts in the north part of Afghanistan. Coming into the site of Shortughai, Shortughai is located in the northeastern Afghanistan in Takhar province. The discovery of Shortughai by J.C. Garden of Dhaka and his team was done in 1975. Which was a landmark in the Bronze Age Chalcolithic research in Afghanistan. Later on, the site was excavated for 4 seasons between 1976 and 1979 by H.P. Frankfurt and his team, and the results were published in many papers, and also the final report came in 1989. It is a very small site, somehow 2.5 hectares, with a shallow, not more than 2.5 to 3 meters cultural deposit, and it is divided into two main mounds, the mount A and B. From the first published reports by the excavator, it was clear that there was a major Harappan settlement there, located far from the plain of the Indus Valley. So the discovery of the Shortughai is a profound implication for any understanding of the scope of Harappan activity outside the geographical boundaries of the greater Indus Valley, as well as also the later connections with the Central Asian culture. So at first only the Mount A was partially occupied in period one, but slowly the settlement expanded, which covered the both moons A and B in period two and three. But in the final period, period four, only part of the moon B were inhabited or were occupied. So this final phase of occupation, which is period four, at this site shows evidence of foreign elements like which termed as a Molale and Bishken culture, marking the coming of the various people coming to this site. So, and during this period, the time of this first occupation, uh, which was the early settlers, have been identified on Moon A, and it has been identified within with the early major Indus around 2500 to 2400 BC. And also, according to the excavator, this first group of people arrived well equipped with their original cultural material sets, such as architecture, like pottery, arts, plants, and animals. So this is the opinion of the excavator. And they immediately cultivated the lands on the traces near their buildings. The C14 dates obtained from this period is end of the third millennium BC. So in this period, Harappan elements identified, including Indus seals, carnelian beads, and classical Harappan ceramics such as jars, basin, desham stand, rusticated wares, and perforated jars. Also painted ceramics such as black on red with typical Harappan motifs. Also terracotta objects and other objects. So besides all this, the presence of crucibles with traces of copper indicates metalworking at the site and probably even smelting of the copper. So copper artifacts were also recovered from the site. Also the presence of various industrial debris such as lapis lazuli and bronze slags and also the broken pottery, which were mostly concentrated in this mount, Mount A. According to the excavator and Dobre in 1980s, they says that it seems that this mount was the area where combined the artisans and workshops, also the residential area. It is like the much more like a modern day Afghan bazaar. Houses were made of mud brick of Harappan standard size. The period two of this site also, although similar culture objects were identified, but a gradual change could be observed towards the end of this period for transition to period three. So this period is called the late Major Harappan by Fossil. So during this time period, evidence for the working of lapis lazuli stopped and does not reappear after the period one. However, metallurgy continued in at the site. So there seems to be an extension in the settlement pattern as well as in this period, both moons were occupied. Coming into the period three of the Shortughai, so analysis of the material which was found from this period proven some difficulties due to the lack of a single stratigraphic context as the settlement moved from the Moon A to Moon B during this time. So this period was defined by the excavator as an intensification of local elements, and according to Dobre, it is not a strange phenomenon as we can see that the outsider shifted their ways of lives and at least in the economic spheres and adopted the local foundation. Thus, the Harappan colonists, like in quotation mark, could have had adjust from a semi-tropical climate zone to a semi-arid zone. So period four of this site is a composite of the which is it does not reflect a single culture but a real occupational horizon, marking the coming of the various people in this site. This final stage is recognized as Malala and Bishket culture, a burial belonging to this period uh, was discovered at the site. So, uh, b- uh, and uh, and this burial was dug into the graves of the already abandoned Indus Mount B. Sorry, Mount A. So this final occupation could be dated to 1700 BC to 1500 BC. So before going to so here are some the map which shows the distance between the according to some scholars, these Harappan people, they went there for controlling the mine extraction and trade of lapis lazuli. But we can see the distance, how far it is from the some major Indus Valley sites. So before going to the discussion part, it is worthy to mention and cite the opinion of the Cole and Leonid in 2008. They says that the people moved into the areas already occupied and assimilated with the cultures with which they came into contact. So this movement of people or migration constitute one important mechanism for establishing and maintaining the interregional connection. So another primary mechanism, of course, is the exchange or circulation of goods among them. Coming into the discussion part, so despite the presence of Bronze Age Chalcolithic or Chalcolithic Bronze Age sites in this region, a very later is known for the cultural antiquity of the region for the period between the 4th millennium BC and the 2nd millennium BC. Also, the archaeological investigation on most of the sites revealed that what's going on here. So these archaeological studies were inadequate, and the methodologies adopted by those archaeologists were inadequate towards generating a comprehensive understanding of the past. Also, there is no studies has been conducted to understand the central region of Afghanistan. There is a gap in the center part of this country. So, in the context of this, of course, there is no in the context of Afghanistan, there is no a single site like the site of Mehergar to see the uh, continuity of the culture sequence from the early food production societies till the emergence of stratified societies. So, in addition, but also the earliest evidence of the use of metal, as seems as we seen from the site of Varimar, can be dated to 6th millennium BC. So there is a gap of nearly 2 millennium before we see the emergence of Chalcolithic Bronze Age culture in Afghanistan. Also, this shortcoming research have limited our understanding of the cultural significance of this period, along with the issue of concerning the origin and development of the civilization in Afghanistan. However, a few archaeologists argue that Afghanistan appeared to have passed through the similar stages and process of the civilization in the case, as in the case of Indus or Mesopotamia or Sharqstan in Iran, and they suggested some general terms such as Helmand civilization for the southern part of the country, and also BMAC for the northern part of Afghanistan and part of the southern part of the former Soviet countries such as Turkmenistan. But in 1981, so another term like Octo civilization has been suggested by Frankfurt. So in this context, we need to re-examine the Chalcolithic Bronze Age cultures in Afghanistan and their relations with the contemporary civilizations in the neighboring region. So what are the problems and prospects of the Chalcolithic Bronze Age cultures of Afghanistan? So due to the geopolitical tensions in this country, in the region since the past 40 years, especially during the Civil War and also during the Taliban period. Uh, Limited studies or has been done in the before the civil war and also after the civil war since the establishment of the new government. The main focus of the foreign archaeological institutions or researchers, they are in pre the Buddhist culture and also the Hellenistic period of Afghanistan. But there is no any continuity of the research and excavation in this period. Also, looting of the archaeological sites and museums, which resulted as the destruction of the archaeological sites in most of the part of the country, uh, and some sites belonging to the Bima cultures in northern Afghanistan has been looted, and also the National Museum of Afghanistan has been destroyed and looted during the civil war. But still, the artifacts of this period from Mondiga, from the Shortughai, they are housed at the National Museum of Afghanistan. They are on display at the National Museum. So here you can see the destruction of the building of the National Museum, and here this is the new view of that. So here you can see the pottery, how it was destroyed during the Civil War. So now these are the showcases, and the museum is open again for the public, and the artifacts are safe there once again. Uh, and also another problem is the lack of conservation of archaeological sites, and there is no post excavation management of the sites. There were not I mean, recently we are focusing on that, being part of the Archaeology Institute of Afghanistan. So we are focusing on the post excavation management of the site, but earlier there was no focus on that. Almost most of the time after the excavation were like in open air site, like say for example the site of Shortughai is now uh, probably some distraction has been happened there. Maybe looting, I'm not sure, but all the natural disaster might be there because the site is not protected. And also the literature publishes the literature in multiple languages. So recently, some of the Soviet reports are available for the public, and the doors are open for any other research on their literature sources. But the problem is that it is in Russian, and results of excavations from the French archaeologists are published in French language. Only few papers has came about the results of their excavations during this period. Thank you so much.